right. Can you hear? Let's see how our audio is. Three, two, one. Testing audio. Let's out. Okay. My tab with the stream on has frozen, so I don't actually know if this is working right now. Let's see. Can you? Okay. I'm coming through. The game is hopefully coming through. And all right. So, this was originally something I was going to be doing after I got back from Gen Con, just playing BattleTech or playing whatever the game of the week would be, talking about RPG stuff, potentially streaming. My issue with streaming writing, basically, is that I am either not at all productive while streaming writing, or I'm either not at all productive while streaming writing, or I am not looking at chat at all, and so even if someone is, like, paying attention and interested, then I am not going to have any idea that they're there. So instead, my thought was I could play something like Mechwarrior or something else that's relatively low pressure, and play something else that's relatively low pressure and actually talk about stuff while I am doing things. So while let's see, just getting the last Twitter posts and stuff up while I set everything up, and yeah, I don't know how much of my audience are actually going to be familiar with BattleTech versus being here for RPG talk, but today is mostly probably going to be the talking about the 1D&D playtest stuff, as well as guns blazing, and then going from there. I've got some thoughts on the 1D&D playtest, but I will wait for people to actually get in and see how we're doing. Okay. I have the I Am All of Me cover from the real-time fandom just stuck in my head now, which is not ideal. Let's see. Otherwise, I am recovering from COVID. My self-isolation ends today, nominally. I was still coughing this morning, which I was really hoping I wouldn't be. So we'll see how it goes. However, I have some stuff scheduled over the next week or so, so being slowed down by being sick is no longer really an option for me. So we're kind of just gonna power through that as we go. Let's see, what are we up to? Right, we're running a Timberwolf C. I believe it's the TBRCC. I have two Timberwolves. I don't remember which I queued up with. But one is a close-range brawler, one is a medium-range skirmisher. Both are fast and pretty well armored because they're Timberwolves. That's kind of their thing in BattleTech. Definitely one of my favorite mechs as a kid growing up. I had a weird introduction to BattleTech because I played Mechwarrior 2 first, and so the clans were BattleTech to me. I was very confused when I learned about the Inner Sphere and all of these weird European knight dudes, because where are the supervillain furries? I thought that's who the protagonists were supposed to be. It was a weird introduction to the setting. But I still have an inordinate fondness for the Timberwolf, the... what's it called? The Vulture is the clan name. The Mad Dog and the Summoner. Just because those were, like, the big ones that I remembered really enjoying in Mechwarrior 2.
Weapons online.
Let's see. Systems nominal. Dropping. So you can't see the top left of the screen here. There isn't anything really important there. It's just like lance details, basically. You can even see the percentage health totals, more or less, around my screen. It's literally just, you cannot see the names of everyone in my lands. So, should be pretty much fine for our purposes. With that in mind, yeah, the one D&D test. I honestly really like it for the most part. There have, I think the direction for the race overhaul is the right way to go. Putting much more stuff in backgrounds is a very good idea. And making it more mechanically impactful than they are in 5e core is great. There have been some good criticisms of it levied, namely that the wording around like mixed species characters is pretty dire. It goes with a lot of the miracle, like wondrous miracle wording that's just not ideal. And so I do agree with the criticisms from like Issa and others in the community who have pointed out that that's an issue. I didn't think it was much of one at first. They pretty effectively convinced me that it was. But it does seem to me like a relatively easy fix as well. So it's not like something I'm too worried about. Oh, I picked a bad place to hide out. Okay. Ooh, okay. This sucks. Yeah, okay. That was a bad idea on my part.
Acquired.
I do not like this map very much, to be honest. Not my favorite. My other big one is actually, so like the sample backgrounds, some people have criticized them as like the Gladiator has Orc, which I get the criticism. I think it's not going to be a problem in practice because of how it's set up. But there we go. Do I actually want to? No, I want to show. Okay. This blows. Okay, we're out of the way. There we are. Oof, down to 49%. Our best gun arm's damaged. Everything else is damaged. I don't think I have a way to close with those LRMs. Not a great situation to be in. Oh. I don't think it's going to be a problem in practice just because the background is set up to... The generic background rules are set up to be like, here's a summation of how you were raised, which seems like a pretty solid approach to it for me, to me. But the generic options don't quite match that yet, and I think it's honestly going to be about kind of squaring those things to make the implementation really work.
Warning, incoming missile. Right leg destroyed.
Ooh, leg out is bad. I am fucked. There's no way I'm getting away from that missile launcher.
Right arm destroyed. Left leg critical damage.
Yeah, that went poorly. So I think the solution, the way I would handle it, is to make the sample backgrounds more specific. Like go, you know, instead of it being your sample background is Gladiator and you get this feat, these skills, these attribute adjustments, and this language, go like your sample background is kind of city, social class, and then pre-adventuring profession. So, you know, you were a Neverwinter, you were a poor Neverwinter gladiator or something like that, where it was like, yeah, you grew up in this orc community in the this district of Neverwinter, where you learned that, you became a gladiator growing up, to get out, like, you became a gladiator growing up, and then from there, you have the rest of this character background. And I think it would probably, like, you could even just put in the rest of the text from Gladiator, basically. Where I think it would make it clearer what the deal is. Alternately, let's see. Alternately, oh, the other issue with Gladiators, of course, you have the Gladiator background, they picked Orcish for it. It's kind of just a bad match. I think switching that out for another language would be fine. Alternately, you can do the full language overhaul of, which I don't think they're going to, because the player's handbook needs to be generic on some level. Then, so because the setting needs to be generic in the player's handbook, you can't really... Let's quit out of this. It wasn't a great match for us. We'll pick something a little more flexible for the next one. But because languages need to be generic enough to fit into any setting, I don't think you're going to get what to me would be the ideal solution, which is just languages are no longer generic by race, they're all locational. So you have Baldurian, and then you have Infernal, Celestial can pretty much stay. Like, the planar languages are, I think, fine. You can associate them with those planes of existence in most settings. So you'd have, like, Infernal, Celestial, Abyssal, Primordial, and then you'd go with just actual locations for languages. You could even make languages setting book specific. Just go like, yeah, there's Common, which we have as a default language, regardless of setting, and then here are some common languages that are in most settings, and here are some setting-specific languages for the Forgotten Realms, Eberron, Dragonlance, and then kind of fill those in with a setting book or adventure book whenever they come out. I guess the problem with that is that you would need to do more setting and adventure books, something they kind of don't want to do. Let's check the Sun Spider first, or actually, let's find something medium. You'd have to do more setting books, which Wizards has been averse to, and I get it. Like, I am not going to blame them for deciding that it isn't really worth their time to get into the setting book grind. Let's see. But, just because modules are a lot more saleable over time, it does make sense to me. But it would be a good way to solve it as I see it. Right? The other one is the abilities, like the racial bonuses themselves. I think those are mostly fine now. I don't really agree with the criticisms that you need to get rid of those entirely. I could see the, like, pick from a list option being a thing, wherein these are, the existing ones are all kind of, here's your spread, and then you just have a list, like, here are these ones we pre-built for you, and then you can pick from a list for yours. I'm not sure how well it will work just because you get into combinatorial hell, wherein every single option needs to be balanced with every single other option for such a system, whereas with everything being bespoke, you can make the balance options bespoke. So you can have a character whose active is less powerful than another active. Like, even now, I think the Dragonborn Element Breath active is really weak. It's not very good for most characters. It just doesn't do enough for you for what you're planning to get back. Whereas, like, the human active is also We'll get to humans. I have thoughts about humans. We will get to that later at some point. But the human active isn't very interesting to me. But whereas, say, the dwarf one is pretty cool. It's situational, but Tremor Sense for a while is great.
Reactor
So I
online.
can definitely see
Sensors online. Weapons
like
online.
making it a mix and match would be a problem on that balancing level, and you'd lose some of the fantasy of playing a dwarf is that you have things that mark you out as a dwarf rather than something else, etc., etc. It's not ideal for reasons that have been gotten into by other writers and other speakers in the industry, but it is like, if you lean harder into this being a species rather than this being like an aesthetic choice, I think you could do something cool with it, like the dwarven tremor sense, where you can go, yeah, even if you were raised far away from any stone from your entire life, when you touch stone, whatever organ activates dwarven tremor sense will turn on, right? Or like the elven trance, where it's like, yeah, sure, you may not have been raised with magic thing, but the trance instead of sleeping is a species identifier without real like stereotype associations, rather than something less pleasant. Let's see.
Target spotted.
Where are... oh, there. Nope. Don't have a shot. Okay, we're just gonna hang out in here. Right, like, there's...
Target spotted.
I kind of see the criticism on the orc one of, like, the adrenaline rush or whatever. I think it's mostly a wording issue in that, like, in concept, you're an orc, you get wave dashes that give you you get wave dashes with invulnerable frames. That seems fine to me. I can see why people aren't thrilled about the adrenaline rush wording, but it's honestly, like, it is a minor enough thing that I think it's something that can be handled in specific wording rather than something that is this is forever broken and cannot be salvaged. You need to throw the concept out issue. Let's see, where was I? Well, I'm getting shot, evidently.
New target acquired.
Ooh, Annihilator. I think the orc in specific is really going to be an issue just because orcs are loaded as a fantasy species. They've been explicit racial... they've been an explicit racial analog pretty often. They've been implicit racial analogs significantly more often. So whatever you do has that baggage of being an orc, rather than, like... Even though goblins also have similar analog, you've got hobgoblins and analog issues. You've got hobgoblins and bugbears who don't, and the traditional D&D/Pathfinder goblin, especially with the focus on the Fey roots, is now farther from those than I believe D&D and Pathfinder orcs are.
New target acquired.
Like, even the fixes for orcs tend to want to lean into some sort of fighting stuff, whereas stuff for goblins, you can lean into Fey Trickster pretty easily, and people will be on board for it because it's also part of the traditional stories around goblins. They've not solely been historical weird stereotypes,
Sorry.
or solely been a historical stand-in for people.
Missile.
Huh?
Left arm critical.
Where'd they get behind me?
Sorry.
Come on.
Target spotted.
New target acquired.
Target spotted. Target spotted.
Alright, that's going okay. So, like, I think there may be continuing issues with the orc, but I think, in general, it's a solution that seems functional. I don't have, like, inherent issues with this problem for it. I think it manages to solve the ancestry and culture issue which is that, like, ancestry and culture is a solid supplement, but it did still very much line each culture up with a stereotype, or each ancestry up with a stereotypical culture. It did go, if you're a Dragonborn, this is what you get, and if you have Dragonborn culture, this is the other thing you get, which isn't necessarily a great fix. Huge respect for the writing team, solid people,
Target acquired.
made with the best of intentions, but it still has a lot of these issues.
New target acquired.
Nice work, whoever that was.
Critical damage. New target acquired.
Okay, if I break... Ooh, nope, didn't work for me. Honestly, my major issue is the human, because the human is still the incredibly generic choice, and I get that. The human, on some level, needs to be a generic choice. You need to, on some level, just go, yeah, okay, here's your easy intro to the game without much that you need to track, because human's going to be what most of your new players pick, at least currently. Entirely possible that changes. Let's see. It's entirely possible that changes, but the positioning of human as a traitless default with basically like pick a feat, pick a skill, get inspiration every day, I think that might actually work better as a create your own lineage thing of like pick a feat that represents stuff from your lineage, pick like get a ribbon that represents stuff from your lineage, and then you get inspiration every day as just an easy mechanical out that works for most people. You could even do a create a lineage thing with like, here are 2 or 3 options for the active that replaces your get a lineage. Here are 2 or 3 options that could replace the feat. Here are 2 or 3 options that could replace the ribbon. And you'd have something pretty functional while still leaving most of the race options untouched. I think that would work pretty much okay. The D&D team is pretty solid. I'm sure they'll figure out a decent solution for all of this. Let's see. That went pretty okay. We got a kill, we wrecked some people. I've been distracted while doing it. Definitely something to work on. Hopefully fewer ums next time. But I think we're still good to go. How are we on tonnage? It wants us to play light, it wants us to play medium. Let's give the computer what it wants. We're going to play medium again. We're going to do some good old skirmishing and get ourselves blown the hell up. Let's see. Now, I think, is there anything else on the 1D&D playtest I really want to go over? I think that was a little disjointed. Oh, I guess I still do have more things I want to say for humans. So yeah, for humans, it's important to have them as a new player-friendly option. I don't think the current implementation is great for that. It works as being friendly to new players, but if you are selling, every species gets bonuses based on what sort of thing they are, you definitely want to get an actual identity for humans. I should have picked Solaris City. It is way better for this build. Maybe everyone else will fix this mistake for me. Or not. Oh well. Too late. We're in. You'd want to stake out something for them. I do agree that there aren't necessarily great options for what that something is. I do like the humans are endurance predators thing. You get like something so you don't need to worry about recovering hit dice on rests as much. So like you roll an additional hit dice whenever you rest on a short rest, you regain additional hit dice equal to your proficiency bonus when you rest on a long rest, or something like that. Oof. Or, so that would mean basically that you don't have to worry about long rest. Technically only brings back half your hit dice until you're like level 9, basically. Or, I think level 10, actually, because yeah, at 9 you're going to be getting 5 plus 4, so because you round up. So, or no, you round down. So it'd be yeah. I guess level 8 then you'd start being 1 behind. Whatever. You get the idea. You'd just be slightly behind, or you could do something like Savage Criticals. So, a fun joke I've been making since Tasha's came out was that, you know, orcs get Relentless Endurance, Powerful Build, and Wave Dashes. And half-orcs get Relentless Endurance, Powerful Build, and Savage Criticals. Which means humans provide orc, the human side provides an orc, half-orc, their Savage Criticals. So, as a result, obviously humans have Savage Criticals, the free feat, and something else. That has been a joke so far, but I do think you could probably do a human option that is something like, yeah, you get Savage Criticals, you get some sort of additional resources on short rest, and you get, I don't know, maybe an advantage on death saves, or 1 per day you just get up from a death save. Just, I guess that would be a little close to Relentless Endurance, because Relentless Endurance is basically once per day you don't go down, but you're still badly wounded, so I can see that being an issue. Let's see. No. Oop. So maybe that specific implementation not perfect, but you get the idea. Like, humans should have a mechanical identity. It should just be a new player-friendly mechanical identity, rather than the current approach of it being kind of nothing and just kind of a generic pick some good stuff.
Target acquired. Warning,
Target spotted.
incoming missile.
Target spotted.
Let's see. Okay, that skirmish with the piranha went fine. A little embarrassing, but, you know, fine. Pretty much. That seems, yeah.
New target acquired.
Target spotted.
Where the hell? There, no.
Target spotted. Target spotted.
New target acquired. Left arm critical damage. Warning, incoming missile.
Okay, we've got to get out of here. There are too many of them. We're in a bad position. We've lost armor on one arm. We're going to start losing guns.
Left arm destroyed. Right torso.
Whoa,
destroyed.
what the hell is
Center
behind?
torso.
What the hell was that? SRM-6. I guess it really was just that little dude. Okay, the Viper did not work out well for us. That was a little embarrassing. Let's see. Alright, that was kind of embarrassing. We are going to pick something else for our next run. I've had good runs in the Viper before, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it probably requires more concentration than I'm really giving this. But I do think that's pretty much my thoughts on the 1D&D playtest material so far done. I really like the feat, first level feat idea. It's a cool way to make those less worrying, like, so Variant Human used to be an incredibly strong optimization pick just because of how strong that feat was. The first level feat idea is a good way to limit it. It also means you can have like 17th level feats or whatever for to get other cool limitations going. Like to get other cool limitations going and lock off really cool stuff behind high level feats. I guess it would be 16th level feats, because that is the last time you get a feat on 90% of classes. Or I think on 100%. Does the fighter get an 18? I think it's just literally everyone. Yeah, 16th is your last shot at a feat, so just sticking that there would be a solid pick. Let's see. The other thing is the Guns Blazing playtest. It's got approved for Kickstarter, which is great. We just kind of need to keep doing promotions and get it into slowly greater prominence. It is facing a bit of an issue in that, you know, there is not much going for... I was sick with COVID for the 2 weeks after getting back, which means there isn't much existing momentum because I could not do much with it. And now that I'm recovering from COVID, I now need to catch up on work, and so there will be at least another week or so where I'm not doing much for it. It's just really, really unpleasant. Yeah, it is a bit of an issue, but I think the game itself is in a good place. The first playtest went really well, with the minor caveat that all three groups massacred... Well, two of the three groups massacred their way through encounters way more easily than I thought they would. There were some minor balance issues that I found. Never played this... Oh, well... Well, Knucklehead 5... I have good news and bad news. Good news, everyone else hates this map as much as you do. Or as much as you're about to. Bad news, this is not a great map. I don't like it much.
Gamma is there.
The canyon setup is something I like a lot on other maps, and something I just find really annoying here. The center volcano thing is kind of cool, but that's really about as much as I'm willing to give it. Let's see. But yeah, so Guns Blazing has its art set up. It's got the page done. Basic mechanics are promising, I think. I'm going to be overhauling some of the social stuff, but the basic spend stamina, get stuff done. Engine works really well, and people grasp how it works, which was definitely one of the things I was more worried about originally, was just that people would not get the stamina system. But multi-action by default seems to have been something people understand. Reactions took a bit more from most players. A lot of them didn't quite get what was up with it until partway through. But people seem to grasp it with some amount of ease. I'm not too worried about it. Ooh, we've gotten massacred. Let's see. Today is not treating me well MWO-wise. Even just thinking about what to talk about is a little more difficult than I was hoping for. Oh well. I'm going to try and keep this up for at least an hour. But yeah, let's see. The basic idea behind it is I wanted a system where you take lots of actions each turn, and you have an ARO style system like Infinity to keep people engaged off of their turn on some level. But I didn't want it to become a character optimization nightmare, so one of the issues with Shadowrun that I wanted to handle with the stamina system was that, like, in Shadowrun, in Eclipse Phase, in a lot of things that do this, there was some points in Exalted where this was the case. Getting more actions was the only thing you wanted to optimize for, and because it was something you had to optimize for, it was a huge learning curve for new players. So my approach for this was that there is a learning curve in that learning to act efficiently in different situations will be a thing you as a player have to figure out. And you as a DM will need to guide people towards, likely. But you wouldn't get the baseline issue of we're out of character generation and Muhammad has 4 actions per turn. I have 1 action per turn. I'm fucked. So in Guns Blazing, your stamina and therefore your actions scale by character level, and there isn't really another way to change that. So everyone's got basically the same action scaling. Some characters have less efficient options to counterbalance how strong some of them are. So the Hunter, for example, it has an inefficient option in its basic gameplay loop because it needs to turn invisible for 2 stamina to get a bunch of its abilities going. And that's obviously a little less efficient. If you move and then attack someone as a hunter with that ambush, you'll probably take out your first target, but now you either need to move without your bonus, or you need to spend stamina to re-stealth and become less efficient. It's just a built-in little bit of you get power for stamina, basically. So some of the more powerful character options, like turning invisible, are balanced around it. So, for example, the Vanguard, which does have some balance issues with how momentum works, needs to spend stamina getting up to speed, basically, to turn on momentum. And then it can probably just keep up momentum for the entirety of its turn, but maintaining momentum in the off turn is harder. Maintaining momentum in the off turn is harder as a built-in thing, so therefore you want to spend some stamina near the end of your turn getting somewhere hard to reach to make it less likely that you'll lose momentum when it comes around to your next turn. So the idea is that by putting the balancing point, or by putting the stamina taxes, the action taxes basically, around this other stuff, you would avoid the issue of optimization being a huge deciding factor on character viability just on the action level. Obviously, on some level, a highly optimized character in the vast majority of systems is going to be significantly better off than one who hasn't been aggressively optimized.
Target spotted.
Let's see. Okay, we've got a nice little marksman's perch here.
Target acquired.
Not by any means invulnerable, but
Warning, incoming missile.
ooh.
Target spotted.
Okay, we're in a good point. ECM's working. I guess someone had narked us at some point. There's no way someone's within 200 meters, right? That has to have been a narc. Or laser tag. I think just called a tag, laser tag. Ooh boy, I do need to practice more. Alright. Oh yeah, the funny thing we figured out during the Gen Con Guns Blazing playtest, it was optimal in most situations for a Vanguard who got caught out with momentum to just not react, because failing to react doesn't cost you momentum. Yeah, failing to react doesn't cost you momentum, but reacting and not succeeding on the reaction does, which is obviously not ideal. You don't want the optimal thing at any point to be, I do nothing and let someone shoot me in the face. There's just obvious issues there.
Target spotted. Target spotted.
I think we've got to hunt down this dude. I think we've got to hunt down this Arctic Wolf.
Target spotted.
I'm pretty sure it's just the option that keeps us from getting...
Target destroyed.
Okay, it's dead. Next target.
Target spotted.
That went nicely. Scared them both back into cover.
Target spotted.
destroyed.
Nice. This is treating us pretty well. We are running slightly low on ammo, but really that's about it in terms of bad consequences for us.
Target acquired.
Sorry.
We're beating up that dire wolf. We're not doing that much to it yet.
25%. New target acquired.
Target spotted.
I have a pretty simple fix for that momentum issue on the Vanguard. I think just going, hey, if you take damage, you also lose momentum, would fix it. It makes things a little riskier in that you're now a lot more likely to lose momentum on your turn if you roll badly once or twice. But momentum's pretty easy to gain. You get it while doing other stuff a decent chunk of the time. I think it is less penalizing than I thought it was when I was originally designing the class.
Target destroyed.
Nice.
New target acquired.
Target spotted.
Target destroyed.
Target spotted.
Nice. Another one down. We're up to 2 kills, boys and girls. Can you see the kill tracker? You can see the kill tracker. Well, I actually say pilots instead of boys and girls, but I hope no one's too angry about that. Oh. Yeah, so that cough's still there. It's not too bad now. I'm basically fine. Yesterday, it made it very difficult to... Even yesterday, it made it very difficult to write. You get into a coughing fit, you lose your train of thought. It's pretty miserable. But... but today, it's pretty much alright. Going to see... I don't think I have enough real, like... speaking content for 15 more minutes of stuff. I have been chatting at speed, and to be honest, this is mostly for the benefit of YouTube comments later, because we have no live audience. Which, whatever, no worries. This is at least 50% for my benefit. Let's see. Yeah, the big thing is I probably need to finish up a new Ashcan. I'm not fully for Guns Blazing. I am not thrilled with how the previous Ashcan is set up. I have an idea for a full overhaul of non-combat skills, which I think will actually be relatively quick. Namely, skills go off of the character sheet. Everything becomes kind of Disco Elysium-esque. You determine what your damage is, and you tie it to your various non-combat skills. Make your character through that. And you'd get a functioning skill system, a more evocative way to make it part of what your character is doing outside of combat, and encourage other people to pitch in. And then, let's see. Yeah, and encourage other people to pitch in and, like, suggest complications for you. And it should still function as a skill system. Especially because part of the goal is that your skill system for Guns Blazing should be pretty limiting outside of combat, in that anything that involves doing direct combat stuff, acrobatics, etc., you should be very competent in, and anything outside of that, you should be kind of a disaster in. I'm hoping to emulate some of what Flying Circus managed on that front, of just encourage you to make poor decisions, possibly to the point of having completely separate combat and non-combat XP tracks, or having your combat progression basically be, yeah, you get milestones when the DM decides it's appropriate, whereas non-combat is actually about
Reactor
some level of
online.
personal growth and failure and messing up and
Sensors
slowly
online.
improving as a person,
Weapons online.
which would both let you get like
Systems
you're
normal.
kind of rocketing forward as combat monsters, but also you are genuinely miserable at most of the rest of your life, or your combat progression is basically steady, you're staying at like tier 3 for the entire game or whatever, but you are developing as a character and as a person, or even just like the traditional you're doing both, but it lets you divorce the two more or less completely from each other, which I think is the most interesting way to do progression for something like this. Oh shit, I'm a crab. I don't have long range guns. I need to get in close. What am I doing? Talking to you. That's what I'm doing. Just getting so distracted that I forget what mech I'm piloting.
Target spotted.
Jeez, that was
Incoming missile.
a huge chunk of my armor.
Target spotted.
Huh. And you can no longer see the health percentage on your view. That's weird. Maybe I should just enlarge it a bit to make it completely impenetrable
Target
to you.
acquired.
Just make it nice and formal.
Target spotted.
Jeez, that is bad. That is bad, bad, bad. I am probably just going to hang back and be a missile shield for allies for a little bit, because, yeah, that is my center torso armor completely gone. I am not going to survive whatever pushes over that
Target
hill.
spotted.
But that king crab probably will. Won't you, king crab?
Target spotted.
New target acquired.
Target spotted.
Yeah, so running double AMS, it isn't quite like the I am immune to missile flex that Corsairs can do, where you just go, yeah, I have 4 AMS, go ahead, do your worst.
Target spotted.
Whoa, what the
Right
hell?
torso critical damage. Right torso critical damage. AMS ammo destroyed.
Target spotted.
Wait, I don't... Oh, no, that's just one of the AMS is going down. That's not ideal.
Acquired.
That's not ideal at all. See, I can't even peek my way out of this thing without getting flattened, so we're just kind of stuck here. Let's see. But yeah, I think the dual track progression system, wherein your social and combat prowess tracks completely separately, has a lot of potential. Holy shit, I survived. And I'm fully armed. I should try and find an angle on something.
Target spotted. Target spotted.
Alright, lads, we're going... alright, pilots, we are going to get ourselves blown up in a moment. Let's see if we can do some damage on the way
Target
out.
spotted. Target spotted.
There we go. Oh, baby.
Warning
spotted.
incoming missile.
Need assistance.
Missile destroyed.
There we go.
New target.
Beep. We're dead.
Pulse laser
We
destroyed.
are... Okay. Yeah, that's not right. Oh, no, he just completely missed how vulnerable we are. Well, you know what? We count those.
Target spotted.
Right
Target
arm
spotted.
destroyed.
Affirmative.
Medium
Zombie.
pulse
Okay,
laser
the Viper's
destroyed.
dead. Well,
Medium laser destroyed.
wasn't expecting to survive that. Was not expecting to survive that at all. We've got one gun. We got 2 guns and an AMS.
New target acquired.
That's bad, but you know what it is enough to do? some
New
damage.
target
Target
acquired.
spotted. We've destroyed target Alpha.
Target destroyed.
Thanks. Target spotted. Target spotted.
Target acquired.
Target spotted. Target spotted. Target spotted.
New target acquired.
I really appreciate that this game does not really have engine well, we had made it way too long anyways. Okay, we're gonna call it one more match after this, and then we're gonna get out, because I do think this is kind of coming to its natural end. I do appreciate that MWO doesn't have engine crits, unlike the tabletop game. Like, you've got crit in the engine, you're dead, even though you're pretty high health left, is always a little frustrating. I get why it's a thing. It means you have to be a little more careful with damaged mechs, but boy, can it feel like crap. Ooh, we are actually, inexplicably, in a good point to bring out a heavy again. So let's go with... What is our summoner? I don't think I really want to do sniping. Let's try and make this work again. Let's hope we get a close range map. Okay. Okay, this'll do. This'll also do. Yeah, so that would be a pretty close range map with a relatively close range style. Okay, let's see how this goes. Do I have anything else I really want to cover? I guess we can talk about species and guns blazing. It's probably the least complete system. I say that keeping in mind that I am going to be completely rewriting, I am going to be completely rewriting the non-combat skills. But, even with that in mind, jeez. Even with that in mind, species is pretty rudimentary for it. Basically, the way it currently works is that, like, each type of person, each type of djinn, and, like, humans have, like, here are perks associated with this thing. When you create a character, you can pick, one of your slots is basically for, like, here is something from your species or background, so you can pick one that matches it, or you can just pick one that matches how your character was raised or something that they figured out growing up, etc., etc. If I implement non-combat perks for guns blazing, it's definitely going to be a thing for a Hadi core. I just haven't decided if I want to spend the page count on it in guns blazing. But, oof. What am I missing? What am I missing? I've completely blanked on where this train of thought was going. Oh, right, you get, basically, currently it's just combat perks. I don't know if I want to spend the page count on doing a full set of non-combat perks. It seems, non-ideal, let's say. Like, it's a bunch of page count, it's for a system that Guns Blazing doesn't focus on, but Guns Blazing is becoming more of a full-featured system than it was originally planned to be. So it may be worth doing. If I do, it would basically be like you get a non-combat perk for it, and you get a non-combat perk for background/species, and you get a combat perk for background/species. It's purposefully mix and match, just because, in part for, like, yeah, you don't really want to deal with the nightmare that is some of this stuff in, doing some of this stuff sensitively. But, what am I looking for here? There we go. But also, like, being the kid of a djinn and a human of some sort is pretty common in a lot of djinn stories. People marry people marry Jin royalty, people elope with them and fall in love and have children, etc., etc. It's a reasonably common thing for it. So going full and have a weird or arbitrary set of like the associated abilities, basically. And so going for mix and match works here, even if it might be some more work on my part. One of the bonuses is that I'm basically just using the set of perks you would get in any other circumstance for these. Like, there are a couple of shape-shifting ones that you can't really get outside of it, but fundamentally the thing to represent that you have basically like shape-shifting claws that can rip through metal is the same to represent that you are really good at hand-to-hand combat and can punch someone through an armor plate.
Target spotted.
And you can break ribs through armor plate with your fists. Aren't treated mechanically differently, which gives me a degree of flexibility in it. One of the downsides is that, like, it'll make the... So one of the unspoken downsides of this, basically, is that it makes part of the appeal of the game where people, a lot of the time, want stuff that will give them the feeling of playing this species instead of something else is going to be lost. And that's something that I am basically fine with. But it is a conscious trade-off I am making for Guns Blazing. That was a really satisfying duel. We got badly mauled, but like definitely worth it. Ooh, that's a heavy hit from somewhere.
Ultra autocannon power at 25%. Target destroyed.
There we go.
New target acquired.
Let's hunt down that Atlas. I don't think it's what was responsible for hitting me earlier.
Target
but,
destroyed.
Oh no, it's dead. Okay, so there can't be that many of them left.
Target acquired.
Something over there.
Let them push ahead. Target spotted.
Alright, I think those are actually a line of close-range brawlers up there, which isn't great for me. But, and especially as we're just about out of autocannon ammo. So really, we've got this last, like, 40 damage to try and make sure we sink.
Target acquired. Ultra autocannon ammo depleted. Right torso critical damage. Right torso destroyed.
I was going to say we should be shielding with our right arm and torso. Not an option anymore. Ooh, yeah, we're dead. Hopefully the rest of the team can pull this one out. We're not too far behind. But yeah, I think the unspoken part of some of this, especially by people who aren't in game design, is that you do have to actively choose to make the sacrifice if you are... if you're making a choice one way or another on how to handle species, or race, or ancestry, or whatever it is for your game, there are going to be trade-offs for whatever your solution is. By and large, I think most of those trade-offs are worth it, but they do exist, and I don't think it serves anyone to pretend like they don't. With that said, we're coming up on an hour. I think this was at least good practice. I need to work on not saying when I'm hesitating as much. It's just kind of my default dead air thing. But this was fun, and I will see you all some other day.